We might feel like we know celebrities because their lives are heavily documented in the media, but there's a lot we don't know about their past and their personal life. Some celebrities who have everything right now once struggled to even get by. We're talking about celebrities who come from toxic families in this part 2 video. I'm your host for this one, Jasper. Thanks for coming back to Top 10 Beyond the Screen. Before we get into it, make sure you leave a like on this video, it really helps us out, and subscribe to keep seeing more. Beginning our list at number 10 is Nicki Minaj. The singer has been said to have found her set of wings within a broken nest. In other words, she came from a troubled childhood. In 2010, she revealed that her father was an aggressive substance addict who subjected herself and her mother to neglect, theft, and even arson. She spoke candidly with Vibe magazine and said, "When you have a father who is stealing your furniture and selling it so that he can buy crack, you suffer. You come home from school and your couch is gone. You're like, what happened?" Nicki was actually born in Trinidad but moved to New York at just the age of 5. She revealed that she lived in constant fear when she was young, worried that her father would end the life of her mother. But her father did get the help that he needed later in life and checked into rehab and started going to church. Sadly, he was struck by a vehicle earlier this year and passed away. Nicki has said that it has been the most devastating loss of her life. That's so sad. Up next, number 9, we have 50 Cent. Before he became one of the biggest rappers in the world, he grew up in a very broken home. His real name is actually Curtis Jackson, for anyone who has ever wondered but been too lazy to Google it. His father abandoned his family when he was born, and his mom was a substance dealer when he was very young. Sadly, his mother passed away when he was just 8 years old, so he was sent to live with his grandma. While his grandma did care for him the best that she could, Curtis seemed to follow down his mother's footsteps and went down a dark path with substances. He was arrested when he was just 18 for possession of a weapon at his high school. Even as his life and career progressed, he still struggled to break away from substances. It wasn't until his son came into the world where he made changes in his life. In 2005, he told People magazine, I quote, "My priorities changed. My son is the reason I stopped doing the things my mother was doing." I didn't even know he had a kid, to be honest. Swiping our number 8 spot is Christina Aguilera. Many people don't know the dark side of her past, and that's because she always puts on a very strong face. Even in her music, she came across as a very strong, independent woman. But in a candid discussion with E! News, fans got to learn a lot more about her personal life and where she came from. During her interview, she revealed that when she was a child, she felt completely powerless against her father, who was very aggressive and violent. She admitted that she turned to singing as an outlet for that. Christina's mother Shelly once remembered a very terrifying incident when she found Christina at just 4 years old with her face all bruised up. Turns out her father was napping and she apparently made too much noise. Her mom eventually left him and took her and her sisters to live with their grandmother so that they could be safe. To this day, Christina says the pain that she felt at home is actually where her love for music came from. In spot number 7, we have Angelina Jolie. The Hollywood star grew up in Los Angeles, which might seem like a dream for a lot of people, but it was not all glitz and glam in her childhood. She says she suffered from depression at a very young age because she just didn't appreciate her life. She talked to the Wall Street Journal and said she couldn't appreciate or understand her life at the time, which led her to be very destructive and miserable. She explained and said, "I was raised in a place where if you have fame and money and you're decent looking and have the ability to work in this industry, you have everything in the world. Then you attain those things and realize you still couldn't be more empty." Things got so dark for her that her childhood caregiver once said that she had to take Angelina to the hospital because her struggles with anorexia were so severe. And for anyone who doesn't know, she was actually born into parents who were already actors at the time, so she grew up in a world of fame. Cruising into number 6 is Ashley Judd. Her on-screen presence would never show that she has been through some traumatic experiences in her childhood, but fans got to learn all about them in her memoir. In 2011, she wrote a memoir called All That Is Bitter and Sweet and revealed shocking details of the neglect, and exposure to substances that she faced when she was younger. Because of how traumatic her life was growing up, she admitted to being severely depressed throughout her life. She said that she was neglected during her mother's rise to fame as a country superstar, which most people might think would be really cool to have a parent gaining fame as a musician. But it was actually the opposite for Ashley, and she was happy to finally share it with the world. When talking about sharing all these very disturbing details to the public, she said, "The shame and the keeping ourselves sick through secretiveness abusiveness is one of the things we all need to have the courage to undo. Halfway through our list, at number 5 is Dylan McDermott. You know those unsolved true crime murder mystery shows that everyone binge watches? And by everyone, I mean me. Well, his life was actually one of them. When he was just 5 years old, someone took the life of his mother, who was just 20 years old at the time. The horrific crime was labeled accidental at the time, but still remained as an unsolved mystery for the next 4 decades of his life. His father was in jail at the time of the incident, so Dylan and his infant sister were sent to live with his grandmother before being adopted by his stepmom. Dylan wasn't an eyewitness to the crime, but he did hear shots being fired. In 2011, he took matters into his own hands to get the case reopened for investigation and confirmed that it was one of the suspects. Fingers pointed to her boyfriend at the time, who was known for being violent and addicted to substances. However, the suspect was deceased before being officially accused of the crime. Up next, number 4, we have Missy Elliott. Fans learned a lot about Missy during her feature on Behind the Music, but they never expected to hear about how much she suffered in her upbringing. She revealed disturbing details about how she was assaulted by one of her cousins for the course of a year, too young to really understand what was happening at the time. She also admitted that later down the road she had to experience extreme poverty, which is just a testament to how far she's come having this wildly successful musical career. When it comes to her parents, she revealed that she had to witness some very terrible things growing up, as her father would assault her mother right in front of her. There was one specific incident she remembers from her childhood where her father had threatened to end her mother's life, and her uncle, who lived next door, actually had to come and step in and end the argument because it escalated and got very dangerous. So to say that she's come a long way would honestly be an understatement. Taking over our 3rd spot is Kelsey Grammer. Fans of Frasier would never know the layers of trauma he went through in the early years of his life. His character Frasier Crane made people laugh for years, but he has a very dark past that many people don't know about. He has been open about his life experiences though, and opened up about the time when he was just 13 years old and he lost his father in front of his house. The life of his father was actually taken by a cab driver right in their front yard after luring him outside by lighting their family car on fire. Apparently there was no connection between the cab driver and his dad. That was just the start of his losses though. He actually lost his sister when her life was taken at just 20 years old. He says that the guilt of that tragedy nearly destroyed him. Then, just a few years later, his 2 half-brothers passed away in a scuba diving accident involving a potential shark attack. And then, not long after that, one of his best friends lost his life in the 9/11 attack. He has faced tremendous amount of loss in his life, which played a huge part in his alcohol addiction. Thankfully though, as years went on, he has been able to get sober, and eventually he just left his pain in the past and was able to move forward. He lost everyone. Like, I can't even imagine his dad, his sister, his 2 brothers, a best friend. Moving on to number 2, we have Oprah Winfrey. Because she has spent her career smiling and helping other people through their own struggles, many people are shocked to know that she went through her own. She had anything but an ideal upbringing and began suffering from at a very young age. She suffered through this trauma by multiple relatives and turned to substances in order to cope with things. When she was just 14 years old, she was sent to live with her father and discovered that she was pregnant at 14. Sadly, the baby boy was born 2 months premature and did not make it past 2 weeks. Oprah has talked about how she felt very betrayed by a family member who sold the story of her son to the National Enquirer in 1990. But in more recent years, she has openly talked about her son and said that she finally gave him a name, which was Canaan, because it means new land, new life. We have made it to number 1, and we have Jim Carrey. This one always hits closer to home for me personally because the legendary actor actually grew up right here in Ontario, and to see how far he has come is honestly mind-blowing. He came from a good family, but things got difficult for them when his father lost his job when he was just 12 years old, and then Jim had to kind of step up and be like that father figure in a sense. Jim has talked about being homeless and how much they struggled to even get by. He revealed that their family lived in a van band for a while, and they all had to work together as security guards and janitors just to try and make ends meet. The actor said he had to work a 40-hour work week while being a young teenager just to try and keep his family off the streets. One thing that helped him progress was that he started booking comedy gigs in Toronto at local comedy clubs to make some extra money. So to go from being homeless booking gigs at small venues to one of the biggest comedic actors in the world is pretty crazy and inspiring. I actually just found out he's from Ontario like 2 years ago. Alright guys, well that is our part 2 list. Before we get out of here though, let's lift the mood a little bit and do some comment shoutouts. Moki says, this channel is so good, the hosts are always so professional but funny at the same time. Wow, thanks. Honestly, I don't think I've ever been called professional. That has never been a compliment that has been given to me, but I appreciate it. Problematic says, photos of the crime scene were leaked online about 2 people had internet in 1994. Not true, I actually googled it and internet's birthday was 1983, I believe. And by like being leaked online, I more so meant just like in the media, in the press. People heard about it, newspapers, this and that. It was a viral thing for the time. James Casina says, they actually aired the Madonna Britney Christina Kiss live. I watched it. Because it was a live show, yes it aired live, but they cut it out in all the reruns. Like when it aired after that, they didn't keep it in. But it was a live show, so of course they caught it live. That's why Madonna did it. Alright guys, that is all I got. I'm getting out of here. I was your host, Joss Bedard. I will see you next time. Bye. I think I was gonna start a sentence that she was born to her parents were actors, but apparently I stopped. Yeah, I know. In 2011, she wrote, I'm gonna say it again, so memoir. Or memoir. It sounds weird when I say it. Weird. Damn, what they doing out there? They're like working on the construction in the room next to ours. His father, okay. Burp, nope. Oh, heartburn. Burp, oh my God. Ow, okay. This is crazy. Just you wait, Chris. I'm gonna blow your mind right now.